Yeah, Ernie, I have a question for you. I think you said something about you successfully dried green wood and microwave on defrost cycle by putting it in a bag.
Yes.
Uh, Wondered how long you leave it in the bag after you take it out of the microwave.
Well, the regime that I learned was that you put it in a plastic bag with some air in there, and
Yeah.
then you hit it on a defrost cycle. And when you started to see steam in the bag, you opened the door, you took it out, and you opened the bag and you let it cool to ambient.
Okay.
And then you do it over and you repeat that process. If you're like watching television some evening and you, at my age, mix it up with trips to the restroom, you can generally get it done in an evening or so.
Well, I did find if you try and do it quickly, you can light the wood on fire from the inside out. It'll start charring and burning in the middle of the wood. It's quite
Yeah,
an interesting
and
effect.
it'll crack too.
Oh yeah.
There, my friend Dave Hout here in Akron, Ohio, has experimented too with using these desiccant pellets you use in a pail.
Yeah.
There's a video on my American on the Rockler magazine I write for. On my website, there's a playlist for that, and on there is a video about that.
Okay, thanks.
It's Woodworkers Journal magazine.
Okay, thank you.
Ernie, Dave Hout did come over to the Quad State Bodgers here, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and put on a presentation. And he did tell us about the desiccant material, and we had a very good presentation.
Yeah, Dave's a really good turner and explains things well. Of course, he was an industrial arts teacher as well, and does a great job. Longtime friend. He and I really started the North Coast chapter here together back in the day.
Yeah, I've been friends with Dave for 30, 40 years, probably. A fellow industrial arts teacher.
What is happening to industrial arts teaching these days? Is it still popular, or is it now gone out the window as another one of the things that people used to do?
It's become a lot. It's labeled as technology a lot today, and they do more with 3-axis CNC, 3D printing, stuff like that.
Rasmussen can tell you all about it if he ever comes on.
Yeah, Maryland, interestingly, made a technology education class a requirement for high school graduation. So there's still a little something going on there, though. I think a lot of places it's been totally shut down. Too expensive.
About 20 years ago, a very prestigious all-girls school in Cleveland, Hathaway Brown, got a grant from the Battelle Corporation to outfit a room with hand manual training equipment, and with the idea that doing things with your hand improved math scores.
Totally, it does.
So if they were going to study inclined planes, they would go over this lab and actually build them and put pull scales on them and do stuff like that. So I got the job of outfitting this shop, and it was a great deal of fun. We bought really good workbenches, European workbenches, and great equipment, great things, hand planes, stuff like that. And I never ever heard after that how successful the program was.
Any Sloyd knives?
Our middle schools here in North Carolina have started putting 3D printers in the middle schools for the junior high to learn how to use, because we have a lot of technology programs in the community colleges around here. And so they started them early, trying to inspire some incentive for young folks to go into those programs.
Yeah. My father-in-law was a machine shop teacher, and by the end of his career, obviously, he was spent most of his time, what he said, babysitting as opposed to doing any true machining like he was brought up to. Because that when he was young, the machine shop was a really, well, it was a highly thought of skill. Nowadays, there's so much technology, and it's not decrying the technology or the loss. It's just that it's now changed. That's all.
Well, in
In
those
my-
days, Doug, everybody ground their own tools from a square chunk of M2.
Yeah.
And so you actually knew how to shape what angles to grind it to for different materials. And,
Yeah.
and it's one reason I started doing that when I was 12 in my dad's shop. And it's one reason I can grind a tool so well today, and sort of intuitively understand that I need clearance, I need the right rake angle.
Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is Lancaster area Woodturners weekly coffee hour. This is coffee hour number 50, which tells you that it was just about a year ago when we began to drag our club executives one bodger at a time onto Zoom. And then we went into the series of trying to teach people how to use Zoom. Larry, you're muted. And why we set up the coffee hour in the first place as a vehicle for doing that. And it turned into what it is. And welcome you all. I see 30 on screen right now. I don't see Darlow having clicked in, Ernie. Are we still expecting him?
As far as I know, but time might have not continuum here. I don't know. He has to get up at 2 a.m. to do this.
Yeah, and he might be on standard time too. I see some new faces here. Who's Sandy down there? Who are you?
It's
Actually, that's Jeff, and I'm here at the invitation of Doug Reeser.
All right.
yeah. Let me rename you here, Jeff. Sorry, he's been here for a couple
Okay,
weeks.
thank you, Doug.
Yeah, Doug will rename you. I see somebody else who I don't recognize. Oh, Bruce Lamb changed his name. I wondered who that was. And everybody else looks like somebody who's been here before, and we're welcome to have you back. Let me see. We are expecting Mike Darlow today and hoping that he clicks in. Darlow is, we're actually a little bit lucky in this group. There's a handful of people who've written meaningfully about wood turning, and Mike Darlow is certainly right up there at the top. We also have on screen Ernie Conover, one of the other long-standing writers about wood turning, and Kai Kothi, Kai from Germany, who writes in both German and English about wood turning, and David Sloan, who is responsible for more publishing about woodworking and wood turning than almost anybody except maybe me. So we have a pretty literate crowd of experts on here. I'm hoping Darlow shows up, but whatever. Now, let's see who we're going to have. Ernie is going to review Mike's book, whatever. Mike has a new book, Darlow. Who else wants? I know that Jeff Carroll had some stuff last week. Are you still got some stuff, Jeff?
Yeah, I've got a bowl I just finished. I was going to show.
Okay. And who else has got some stuff they'd like to show? Kai has.
I've got something. Yeah.
Yeah. And Roy Johnson has something. Who else? Let me see. Show of hands. I have something. And Stephen Swanson has something.
And John, we mentioned about the tools. Do you want to skip that until next week because of it sounds like you got a pretty full schedule.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Did anybody bring, some crazy tool? I had one downstairs and I forgot to bring it up here.
Yeah, I brought one.
You brought
I got one.
Yeah, I'll run down and get him.
Well, let's do those too. Let's do those real quick. That could be kind of fun. Show us. This was the challenge we put out. We want to see your most special tool you bought that you never could use, or the craziest damn thing you bought that you also never could use, or your favorite tool. Let's start with David. What do you got, David?
Well, I'll tell you, this is the craziest tool I ever bought, and I tried to use it, but it never really worked for me. It was a Robert Sorby's texturing and spiraling tool. And this thing, I can't figure out what this flat section is for. Maybe something to do with a rest. The instructions are terrible, but it came with a bunch of spiral cutters, different sizes here. They have different teeth, which are hard to see. There's a coarse one here and a fine one here. And the idea is that by changing the angle that you present this tool on the wood. You can either create some textures that work like different kinds of textures, or a spiral, which I've never been able to figure out. But it's been sitting in my cabinet for probably 20 years gathering dust. And if anybody wants it, let me know. But this was just crazy, and
I'll
I've
be
never
glad
found
to take it off your hands.
Yeah.
You want
Who said that?
Give it away.
I might be-
Everybody.
I'm up in State College.
All right, John. Let's follow up offline here.
Sure. Anybody who wants to swap with David and you don't have his email, contact me and I'll connect you.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's it.
Back to gallery view. Who else? Who else had their hand up on this one? Doug, what do you got?
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can see that thing, but this was in my dad's toolbox.
I know what
The rest of his turning is.
I know what that is.
Okay, well, tell me then.
That is a mortising tool for bottoming a mortise. That's for making the bottom of a hand chopped mortise flat.
So maybe you can show me how to use it.
I sure can. It's a Japanese
Okay.
tool.
Okay. Well, I've never figured it out. So
It's not a turning tool. It's you use that along with a mortising chisel to clean up the bottom of your mortise.
okay, thanks.
That's a good one.
You can try it on the lathe. I'm sure
How
you
about
can
that
find
one?
something on the lathe.
Is that the same sort of thing?
Oh, wait a minute, I lost the spotlight. I'm going to remove the spotlight and put it back on you to see it. Hold on. Hold it up again. What is that? I suspect that's part of the same kit. Those are like lock mortise tools for cleaning up mortises and door locks.
Okay.
You
Thanks.
can make them out of an old Allen wrench, about the same tool if you're on a budget.
Who else has one? Who do I see?
Yeah,
Garrett.
I do.
Garrett's got one. Ray's got one. Okay, I'm going to go around. I'll get you all. Here's Garrett. What do you got?
Okay, Mark Skinner got this one for me, gave it to me. This is a
Closer to your face. Hold it closer to your face.
Wow.
2-inch roughing gouge,
Wow, that is
Yeah.
and it's very impressive. And when you use it, it throws the chips.
How wide is that thing?
2 inches.
I have one that's about 1.5 inches that I love. Yeah, that's a good tool. Who else? Who is next? Ray, what do you got?
Yeah,
How do you stick your hand?
just-
up?
this is a parting tool, and it's only 25 thousandths of an inch thick, but it's springy. And what this does is, if you're working on a finial for the bottom of an ornament, because it's springy, you can cut the curve in to match your ornament.
Huh.
It's a strange little thing I never thought it was going to work, but it bends like that.
Wow.
Where'd you get it?
I bought it from some guy. I've had it, and when you said odd tools, I always thought. I told somebody, I said I had a parting tool that bends, and they said there's no way. You can. All you have to do is a slight relief, and that way your finial fits up tight against the round ornament.
I could
And
use
that does that.
I could use that. That's a that I want that.
Yeah, me too.
And-
Great idea.
Let me
Okay.
show you one other thing, John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll put you back on spotlight.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Talking
There
of
you go.
parting tools, this is a parting tool, but this is cut with a 45-degree angle.
Oh, I like that too. What do you use that
Now, that if you have to cut the nub off of something that it's slightly concave, you can't reach over that with a normal parting tool because the parting tool cuts in at an angle. So I can go in with this at a 45-degree angle and cut right down. If you go in straight, it'll cut right down to a very fine point and then go in like that. But you got to be very careful. It'll cut when it cuts off. It cuts off nice and clean. But you got to be very careful. If it catches, it self-feeds. So if you're not paying attention and it catches, it bores right into your piece. Now you got a hole in the bottom. But anyway, that's
a word of
it.
experience.
Back to gallery view. Mark Skinner, you got something?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to put the spotlight on you. What do you got? Hold
Okay,
it up.
These are
You're going to
turning tools. Can you see that?
no, you're fading in and out of your fake background because it's in a different plane.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to put it right where your face is,
hang
or
on.
just turn your background off.
yeah.
Can you turn off the background?
You got to turn off
Let's see if I
your.
can turn off the background.
We're going to come back to you after you've turned after you've turned
Okay.
your background off.
Thanks.
But I'm going to go to somebody else. Who else is holding their arm up with something? Bill Davis. Let's go to Bill. What do you got, Bill?
This the guy beat me to the 2-inch roughing gouge.
That's a honey. That
This is one that I got from my father-in-law's bag of tools, and I don't know if he ever got to use it.
I'm not sure that's a turning tool.
Yeah,
It's
it's not.
I think that's a carving gouge.
You think so?
Well, what's the other? Let's see the handle. Let's see the other end of the
This
far
is why I put the handle on it.
Just don't remember where to do it.
What?
Just don't remember where. I'm not seeing the.
Okay, then I can.
It actually looks to be a curve or slick.
For what?
They're for timber framing.
Yeah, I think that's a timber framing tool.
Oh, really? So I
Yeah.
should have like a handle on it, like a bead on it,
Yeah, yeah. That's a gouge.
because it's so small here.
That's what makes me say it's not a turning tool. And that socket is for beating on.
What did you say it was used for?
I think it's used in for carving timber framing.
Yeah, here's a normal timber framing slick right here.
Okay, just a sec. I'm going to go to Ernie next. Got to put the spotlight on you. There you go. What do you got? Oh yeah, that's the same thing but flat.
That's the correct handle.
Yeah. And the socket's the giveaway. You wouldn't have a socket like that on a turning tool.
Okay.
Okay, who's? Let me get back to gallery so I can see who's next. Mark, you got it worked out yet? If you go down to
Yeah, Judy's going to hold them up. So if you spotlight her, and then I'll talk about it.
I'm going to put the spot on him, and I got to take the spotlight off of whoever's it's on. Hold on a minute. Remove the spotlight. Now we got Judy coming on. Spotlight for everybody. Okay, what do you got, Judy?
Morning. Mark's grandfather's tools.
Yeah, hold it closer to your face so we can see it. Like yes.
So my grandfather, his brothers, and his father, my great grandfather, had a furniture making business in Cambridge, Mass, back around 1900. These are some turning tools, and if you look at them, you can see that one side of the tool is charred. The factory burned to the ground in 1917, so the tools are at least that old.
Have you
Hold a couple of the other ones, Judy?
You got another, Judy?
Yeah, it was pretty neat learning to turn with these old tools too.
Hold the
Thinking
blade.
how-
Hold the blade near in front of your nose. Yeah, there we can see it. There, good.
You can see how ground down they are.
Yeah, that used to be a parting tool.
Yeah.
And there's one more.
Oh my,
Roughing
that's seen some
gouge.
use, hasn't it? Look at that.
Wow,
Wow.
boy,
Modern bow gouge.
that's a nice.
Okay.
Okay, let me get the spotlight off you and get back to the gallery, and we can see who else is holding one up. Who else had one up? Who did I miss here? Swanson, you got one? I see Tatkowski has one, and Karen Drennan. I'm going to Karen Drennan. We haven't heard from Karen on screen, so Karen, show us what you got.
This is just my favorite. It's a Thompson, it's 3/4 inch, and it's ground about 45 degrees. And it's just a pleasure to work with.
That looks like a real workhorse, that one.
And just to address, I guess it was David's comment on the Sorby. This
Bring it closer.
was textured with the Sorby Mini.
Bring it closer to your face so so the camera can focus. Yeah.
Same kind of thing, Karen, that has the little wheels that
Yeah.
Okay.
And this, I don't know if you're picking up that it, it does put a nice design on things.
Have you ever used the spiraling function on it?
No, I've only used the texturing wheels,
It looks nice.
but I just wanted something. I always have tons of pens and pencils, so I just made a pencil holder.
Let me take a second here to introduce Karen, who's a new member of the Lancaster Club and who lives somewhere up in Vermont near the Canadian border. Is that right?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
How
but
long-
I grew up in Berks County, and I spent my first 30 years in Pennsylvania.
Okay. And how long you been turning, Karen?
About 6 years. I'm not very good, but I do love it. It's my therapy.
Well, I'm with you on that. Thank you for saying, thank you for the intro. Okay, I'm going to go back to the gallery, and who else we got here? Tatkowski's got something.
Yep.
What do you got?
All right. Here, this is a Skew Chi gouge. I think that's what it is. I just spent 10 minutes out in the shop trying to find the instructions, but I've never mastered the Skew, bought this thing and tried it, didn't like it, and it sat. So sometime I'll try to go back to it, but I need to find the instructions.
So another tool you haven't mastered is what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, wave your hand if you still got something you want to show in this segment.
John, I'll make a comment on that one that Bill just showed. I have the Doug Thompson Skew. It's 3/4 wide, flat on the top, and convex on the bottom. It's curved, and it's ground in a V, and it's a Skew. And I struggled trying to use a Skew chisel with a 1/2 and a 1-inch flat regular Skews. When I got that Thompson, I really was able to handle that. So I like that curved bottom on the bottom of that. Now the one Bill has is pretty narrow. Like I said, mine's about 3/4 wide, but I like that curved bottom, and I can really handle that a lot better.
Well, I'm going to show you some Skew work in a couple of minutes, but let's see. Okay, who else? We're still missing some people who wanted to show some stuff in this segment. Bob Mathers, what do you got, Bob? Your sound's off. Unmute yourself.
Hold on.
There you go. Now,
Okay. Yeah, you asked me about that a while back. I got one. It was a Sorby tool, just like what Ron's talking about. It wasn't quite as wide, but it does work pretty nice. I kind of like it.
You got it with you?
No, I'm up in the office now. I can get it and come back.
No, don't worry about it. We'll bring it another time. Back to gallery. We got somebody else who I saw another hand on here. Joe Cap. We haven't heard from you in a long time. What do you got?
I have a hacksaw that I made in machine shop at school. I made it in 1953, and I use it pretty regular. I use it to saw off the ends of the pieces.
Hold it closer to your face so we can see more of it. We can't see the whole thing. Oh, I see. Okay, now we got it. That's enough work.
It's sturdy.
I bet.
Looks that way.
I like that one.
That was in the old definition of industrial arts.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Anybody else in this segment? Have we got them all? Oh, Randy. Hiya, Randy. How you doing?
Pretty good. Last night, I was attending a Zoom chat on the worldwide Woodturners, and I want to post a link to it in the chat.
Okay.
In a couple of days, it was quite interesting because they just demonstrated a way to use a camera to create a profile of a piece you're turning. And the way they did it was to run the camera into a TV set, cover the front of the TV set with a transparency that had on it a profile of the item you're trying to turn, and then you just looked at the TV set, not at what you're turning, and just turned it down to that profile.
Now, have you got that to work? Have you set it up to work?
No,
okay.
I have not yet.
We want you to
in a couple of days, they will have the video from last night posted on their website.
That sounds a lot like Trent Bosch, what he does with his hollowing tool. He does the exact same thing. He mounts a camera instead of a laser on above the tool, and then he watches the screen monitor to follow the tool inside the piece.
I'm going to hold out for one of you guys to try that and bring it along as a demo one time. I've seen it done, but I don't get it quite yet. And so I'm going to pull a plug on that one until somebody can actually show us. Anybody else want to show us a weird tool in this segment before I go to the next segment? Okay, I don't see any more hands. That was fun. For those of you who didn't do it, maybe you'll bring something next week. The criteria is a tool you love, a tool you hate, a tool you know how to use really well, or a tool you can't use at all, or a tool you spent a lot of money on and never could figure out.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
You are not the only one.
That's the old saw. I'm just one tool away from being a great wood turner.
Yeah. No, I don't, Mike, I don't see Darlow on here yet. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I've got a video I'd like to show you that I made yesterday. I'm 50 balusters, or I'm actually 60 balusters into about 120. And I'm now down to about 10 minutes of baluster. And I can see 6 minutes coming. But I'm going to show you where I'm at with 10 minutes. Is everybody okay with that? It's a 10-minute video.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, John.
Yes.
John, just a question. If you're a couple cards short of a deck, is that the same as being a couple of balusters short of a deck?
Yes. Same thing. Okay, I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to play the video. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a pan around the shop to show you where this is going. There's my sample. In the finished piece, they'll be closer together than that by about a ½ an inch. There's the measuring stick, and I'm just marking where the first cuts are. There's no narration on this, so I'll narrate it as we go. First cut finds the pommel. This is a cypress that I bought from Groff and Groff. And it comes to me as 8/4 planks, so there's a lot of milling.
Did you mill the blanks, John?
I did. Now, I used to do this with a roughing gouge, and I now do it with a skew.
Good for you.
There's one more.
And this is one area where I'm going to pick up speed now. I believe I can do the roughing in half the time as you see it here, because I just started using the skew to rough. I used to use the roughing down gouge all the time. And I find I like the skew. I like to get my hands in it.
John, what angle are you holding that skew at while you're doing this?
The tool rest is about on center, so I'm holding the skew a little below level with the handle tucked into my hip.
John, is that wood about as soft as cedar?
Yes, it's a little harder than cedar. It's softer than cherry, harder than cedar. It's actually very nice wood. It has it's hard soft the way Doug fir is, but not as damned hard as real Doug fir. It's a nice wood to work with.
John, how fast are you running there?
Around 1200.
Okay.
I think I should run faster. That will be my next play, is to run the speed up. Now I'm going to mark where the high points are and the low points. The turnings are caryatids. They represent the figure. And the proportional division is 1, 2, 3. The bottom part is 3, the middle one is 2, and the top is 1. And here's where I ought to be with the skew still, but I'm still on the gouge for these cuts. Now we make the ankle.
John, do you have another spindle mounted close to that, parallel to that?
I have a spindle up above that I can look at, because I tend to be a little dyslexic and make the things upside down if I don't have a reference. But I've also marked where these cuts are, and it's a very simple shape, so I don't need any more of a pattern than knowing where the deep places and the high points are. Plus, after about 50, you get pretty clear about where you're going. This I like a lot. I just love the feel of the wood under my hand, and it's very sensual to get in there and carve it out like this. And this fishtail skew is an enormously effective tool.
And John, your dimensions for your high and your low, how are you establishing those?
Eyeball.
Okay.
The low is about half the width of the block. But
okay.
What I've noticed in multiples, the diameter matters a whole lot less than north-south elevation. If all of the elements are at the same height, they all look the same, even if they're not all the same thickness.
Okay.
So
Not a very phallic.
when I started, I used calipers. At this point, I haven't bothered with a caliper for 30
I was talking about it feeling very sensual.
So John, you look like you're doing a little bit backhanded there on that one cut, as opposed. Why do you not change hands? Is it just because that's the way you're comfortable with it?
I can't change hands. I can't use the skew with my other hand, if that's what you mean.
Okay.
I'm a righty, and I use it right-handed. And then I move the tool rest and go back to the gouge to make the next ankle.
Need a longer tool rest.
Yeah, I wish I had one, but another tool post, another banjo, or another of the tool post apparatus is $250. So I don't have another one.
The old spindle turners, that's what they use.
I'd love to have a full-length tool rest. That would save me time, and I probably will make one before I go a whole lot further here.
A friend of mine has a tool rest that has two posts.
Yeah.
The thing is about 30 inches long.
Yeah, I would love one of those. They don't make, Robust does not make one, or I would have bought one. If they made a long tool rest to go with another banjo, I would have bought it. And I made a wooden one, but it doesn't work real well.
John, a trick you could do with that for a long tool rest, it's in Payne's book of 1957, but we actually built the feature into the Conover lathe, but it's to drill and tap about a 1/2-inch hole in the side of the tailstock.
Yes, that would work.
And bend a 1/2-inch bolt at right angles and screw it in with a lock nut that you can adjust it in and out. And then you just...
Ernie, save that for when the noise stops, and we'll talk about that, because I think that's a pretty good... I'd like to discuss that, okay?
Yeah, I made a drawing of it because I got a question from a reader.
Hang on a sec. We can't quite hear you with the lathe noise, so when this is done, just a couple more minutes, we'll talk about it.
Sure.
Now, I'm doing this around 1200. Clearly, I could do it twice as fast if I would do it at 2400. But there was a little wee catch.
Nice shape, John.
Thanks, David. That's the cut I have yet to master. And since I'm not in production, I can go back. That was a rough spot, so I'll move the tool wrist and chase it. A guy producing these for a living would never do that. Now that's a Skew surface. I'm actually going to sand it to 80 grit because it'll take paint better, because these are going to be painted. I'm in fact going to prime them before they're installed. But since the Skew surface is so clean, it don't take a lot of sanding. It's just a tiny, just as you can see, just a quick brush with sandpaper.
Same to cover up that nice wood with paint.
Well, the top rail is going to be a 8-inch wide, 5/4 plank finished bright. So that it'll be a nice wide shelf for plants and things all around the deck. There you go.
Well done.
Way to go.
John, is that video on YouTube?
Not yet, but it will be.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where I'm at after turning 50 balusters. And when I started, it took me 25 minutes on the first one. And then I was stuck for a long time, around 15, 16, 18 minutes. And then I got rid of the roughing gouge and went to the Skew, and that came down to 12 right away. And now I'm cruising along at around 10 minutes per spindle. So I'm feeling good about that. And as I say, by the time I get another 20, and I'll get it down to 5 or 6 minutes each. And I think the time gain is going to be in upping the speed. I'll probably do, as Ernie says, and make myself a better tool rest. And I'd like to get to where I do the whole thing with the Skew. But I can't get away from the gouge for making those the narrow places. Comments?
Yeah, let me see what Ernie had to say there about the extended tool rest.
Go for it, Ernie. I'm going to put the spotlight on you.
I just walked over to my Scout, and it would be very easy to do this to the Scout. I just answered a question to the reader about this and made a pencil drawing of it. And I'll just scan that and send it to you for the after notes of this meeting. It'll explain everything.
Okay.
But tell me now what it is you were doing, because I couldn't quite hear you before.
You essentially are going to drill a hole, about a 1/2-inch hole, a tap drill for a 1/2 inch, and you're going to tap a hole into the tailstock. And then you're going to take a 1/2-inch bolt, fairly long, going to bend it at right angles with a torch. And then you're going to thread that into the tailstock, and with a lock nut, you can adjust it in and out. And then to get the right distance. And then you simply make a wooden bar with a 1/2-inch hole in one end and a post that takes your banjo on the other. And you can, if you drill a series of 1/2-inch holes for this post, which will have a 1/2-inch tenon in these protruding from the top of it, you can make it work at any length you want to.
I like that a lot. I'm going to do something like that.
So Ernie, could you comment on the use of the roughing gouge versus the Skew for turning?
Yeah, I have two comments. I wish Mike had been in here because he's the taming of the Skew guy. But most English turners and myself work with a much higher rest with the Skew, so that it's actually cutting. If this is the work, you're cutting right up in here on a line between your eyeball and the center of the work. And you can resist the forces that way, but better feel what the Skew's doing out there than doing it down here at the center line. Also, I use a big P&T roughing out gouge, ground to 25 degrees, and I would remove material faster with that than the Skew.
I think I can get down to you removing it as fast with the skew, but I need more practice, which I'm going to get, of course.
Yeah.
But is there anything with chipping or anything like that, or that the roughing gouge provides as a better thing, or is it just the angle that you hold the tool?
Generally, my attitude in doing work for hire, where I'm turning 11'6" posts that cost $175 a piece, I'm not going to take any chance I don't have to. So the roughing out gouge is just so darn safe for removing material that's what I use.
I like the roughing gouge, but the skew lets me get my hands in there more. I really like to have my hands all over the work.
Yeah.
Hey, John, did you do the pommel cut with a parting tool, or did you go back with a skew? If you did, I missed that.
No, I did it. I did the parting cut with the skew. But then I cleaned it up at the end, sometimes with the skew, sometimes with the gouge.
John, I appreciated the fact that I had not thought of the idea of turning the skew upside down. I typically tried to use it with the point down and often got myself in trouble with you putting the obtuse angle down. Why, that seemed to work fairly well for you.
Yes, I think that's actually the right way to do it. I mean, the point down is useful in some cuts, like that parting cut, but after that, you want the blunt, the obtuse big angle down, not the little one.
Gotcha.
There are a fair number of English turners that roll beads with the toe rather than the heel. Most people use the heel, but there are a fair number of English that do it with a toe.
Okay. That fishtail skew is actually the skew from the German toy makers that Kai showed us some weeks ago, and it came to me by way of Colwyn Way, who's a British turner who's been popularizing it and manufacturing it through one of the companies, and I bought it at an AAW symposium about 2 years ago, and I like it a lot. I'm going to get a one now to
favorite skew. I love the tool. It's just a fantastic tool.
It does not have a square edge. The long edges are round. So it's not a real good tool for paring the end grain reel, where you'd want to use the corner of the blade as another sharp edge. It doesn't have that, but in every other way, it's a lovely tool. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you for that. I enjoyed showing that. I had my nerve up. If Darlow had been on, I might have actually tried to do it live. I was hoping Darlow would give me a working critique. And I know Darlow, he'll tear me to pieces, but that's okay. Let's go to something else. Kai, you had something on tools since we're talking about tools today. What do you got?
Yeah, I would like to show one tool that Barry asked for 2 weeks ago when I talked about the miniature turning tools. He asked about a tool for making basket illusion. And I talked to a fellow wood turner who made a tool for that purpose. And that's one I wanted to share. And then I've got some scrapers if you're interested.
Yeah,
so let me.
See, you said you had some carbide scrapers. Let's go to it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just show Barry's tool first. Okay, these are the scrapers for basket illusion. Can you see that?
Very well.
Yeah. Okay, so the idea is there is a 90-degree angle between the top and the side here. And the idea is that you hold the tool pointing down so that it cuts with this edge below center, and having two kind of round or having the round shape twice means that you can go from one bead that you turned in basket illusion to the next and use the first bead that you made as a reference, and then just move the tool for one bead and then go in again. And once it gets blunt, you can just turn the tool around and use the other side. And then you have to resharpen it by using a diamond file on the top so that the profile is not damaged, but the tool is sharpened again. And
Kai,
he said,
wouldn't that cut a little better if it had a 5 degrees of break on it?
I have to admit, I haven't used the tool. I just saw it at a wood turning club meeting, and I remembered it, and I wrote an email to the turner who showed it, and he sent me this photo. And doing it this way means that you can use both sides. So you can cut on the top, and if you turn the tool around, you can cut with the other side, and you don't. And that's why this is straight to the top and straight a right angle to the top and at a right angle to the bottom as well. So he said it's more efficient because then you can use the top for turning and you can use the bottom for turning. And if you point it down so that this cutting edge is below center, and during the cut, you just push the handle down so that the tip of the tool is lifted and you stop turning at center height. He said that works really well. And yeah, he made a few of these and gave them to fellow turners, but I haven't tested it yet. So I don't know.
Hang on a second, Tatkowski.
What about the tool?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Tatkowski, mute yourself. You're
Okay.
answering the phone.
All right. So it's just an idea, and these tools can be made quite easily, because if you have a round grindstone, as for example for chainsaw sharpening or such purpose, then you can grind these out. And he said the diameter from here to here is a bit slightly, or the distance from here to here is slightly bigger than half the distance from here to here. So the radius, no, sorry, what's the way to explain? If you think of this as a circle, then from the middle here to here, so the radius of this distance is a little bit less than twice the radius, which is from
So
here to here.
in other words, your bead is not semicircular in profile. It's a little bit oblate. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to express. Thank you. Okay. So that's a tool I just wanted to show to Barry and others who are interested in basket illusion. So that might be a way to make a tool for basket illusion without having to grind a longer flute into the tool, which is difficult if you want to make the tools yourself. Okay, so, and then I stopped this and I've got a little PowerPoint on the carbide scrapers.
Yeah, that's of interest.
So now it should be possible.
Now we got it, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I don't like these carbide scrapers for turning wood or solid wood normally, because the surface they leave is not that nice. But they work really good on man-made materials like this stabilized pen blank, which is more or less wood and plastic. And if you have kind of this wood that the vacuum chuck is made out, birch multiply, then it works well as on this kind of wood, because it doesn't get blunt as quickly as high-speed steel tools. Using high-speed steel tools on these man-made materials blunt the tool edge really quickly, and these carbide scrapers are great for working this kind of material. So that's why I use them. Right. Here's a selection of Crepe scrapers with different tips. So a square one, this is slightly rounded, and another round one. And here you can see the handles I made, and I just took some steel bars and then put the tip.
Well, how did you put the tip? It looks like you ground it flat and drill and tapped a hole. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'll show you.
Oh, okay.
So first, the cutter selection. I saw these advertised either on the internet or in a wood turning magazine, I think. Easy Wood Tools from the States makes them, and I bought them on Amazon in Germany. But I just bought the cutter because the holder for the cutter is really expensive, and still this this cutter here, slightly radius, was rather expensive in Germany. I think about 18 euros or something like that on Amazon. And it came with a replacement screw as well. So that was a set, the cutter, the blade, and the screw. So I had to buy a special tap for tapping the hole because it was not metric. Right. Later I found out that you can get the same shape of cutter on the internet made in China for a fraction of the price. So this is about 2 euros in Germany, and you can get them radius and you can also get them square. So that's far cheaper than the original one, and I found these work as good as the genuine.
Those are blade knives for spiral planer heads, are they not?
Yeah, I think they're used on spiral planer heads and maybe jointers as well.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
So they come as a set, in other words. You can buy a whole bar of them as you're showing us there.
Yeah, they came as a set of 10 pieces. Yeah, but at a very, very competitive price. So now what I did is I put this square bar into my vise and used a hacksaw to cut this out here, this shape.
What grade of steel are you using for the bar?
Oh, it's just I don't know. It has a special name in Germany.
I mean, it's not high-speed steel, is it?
No, it's not high-speed steel. It's softer steel, and I actually got it from the school workshop, and the students there use it for filing exercises and stuff like that. So it's not very, very hard. It could be harder material, but if you don't bang it onto your tool rest too often, this stuff is okay.
So that would be mild steel, as I remember, isn't that what?
Yeah, yeah. We call it Baustahl in Germany, like steel used in building, but I don't know what the American
I think
correct American
we call it mild steel. Garrett and Mark probably know the truth of that.
Yeah, so it could be a little bit harder for the shaft, but still this works fine for me. And if I get a nick or something like that in it, I just take a file and flatten it again. Yeah. Okay. Now, as I'm not able to cut exact flats with the hacksaw, I used a sanding disc in my lathe to sand it flat here. And that's necessary because you want to have a flat surface to put your tip on so that it rests really nicely on the tool.
I would go in on the side of my CBN wheel.
Yeah, you could do that as well. At that time when I did that, I didn't have the diamond wheel on my Tormek, and still the Tormek runs at a low speed, so it takes quite a while to remove something there. But this is 80 grit sandpaper here, and it works fairly well and leaves the surface that is okay. Okay, so the next step is to punch a hole where you want to have your thread for holding the tip. And then I put it into a vise and drilled the hole, countersunk it, and then you have to do some tapping for the thread. So you need taps. Well, first you need a cord drill to drill the hole. Then you need the taps to tap it. Sometimes they come in sets of 3.
Okay,
I
well,
think that is a
look, here you
cheap
go.
version. It's only 2 taps until you get to the finished thread,
Oh, they're already
and
in.
a tap wrench for turning the taps.
Lovely.
I have
Oh, I
a
don't mind what
separate
they said, darling.
PowerPoint presentation about tapping into metal, but that's a bit longer. So if there is interest, maybe I can show that in a future meeting.
That's another.
Yeah, I had to buy some special UNC screws, 832, because I wanted to make more than one of these, and I had only this one replacement screw. And that's what it looks like in the end. So that's the angle.
Kai, don't buy any more. We'll send them to you. We got 1 million of them over here.
Yeah, they're fairly expensive in Germany. But yeah, okay. So, and that's the cutter fitted to the tool. And it works really nicely, especially, as I said, on these kind of man-made materials. Yeah. For the application, I found if you place the whole length of this cutter against the rotating wood, then you have quite a lot of pressure on your workpiece. If you angle it slowly and use kind of this section here for cutting, it works much better. But the angle is exaggerated here, maybe 1 degree or something like this, and that's far too much, as in my drawing works better. So just angle it slightly so that not the whole surface here contacts the wood, but more or less this corner here. Yeah, okay, that's it.
Okay, I'm going to stop the share.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. We're near the end of the hour, but I see that Darlow has just clicked on there. Hello, Mike. How are you? You're muted. You have to unmute. Somehow unmute over there. Alice, can you help him? Well, will they try?
You go.
We're
Go
back.
try now.
There you go. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Right. Just speak, darling.
Oh, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're an hour late here. We started an hour ago.
Well, I was told you started at 11.
Well, it's 10 o'clock our time. We started.
No, well, you told me 11, so.
Okay.
We run
So
10.
that's what time I've come on.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be done in about 5 minutes. Well, I wonder if you can come back next week, because we want to spend some time with you. We want to review your book, see the pictures, and talk to you about what you do and what you've done.
Well, what you need to do is to give me an idea what you want to know, because all the information on my big computer I can't get at. I've got to transfer it over to my wife's laptop, because my big tower doesn't have a camera, you see.
Well, Conover has pictures of the work in your new book, so we want to see that, what he's going to show us, and then we want to talk to you about it. So you don't need to do any other prep except show up. But we're pretty religious here about 1 hour and we're done, because everybody's got a busy day. And we're
okay then. Well, now next Friday is Easter, isn't it?
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. What time of day is it for you right now?
Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh God.
Oh, God. Oh,
you think you can handle 1 o'clock in the morning? It might be even easier.
That'll be Good Friday.
Well,
after?
I'll tell you what. How about we do it 2 weeks from?
That's a date.
Today.
That's a date. We'll count on you.
Okay. And 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now I'll need to just check, because do you have a thing called summertime?
We are on summertime.
Ah, yes, because we're just probably going to go off it. Anyway, I can sort that out. But
Yeah. Email with me or Ernie to get the time right, because we would love to spend some time with you when we have some time to do it.
Okay. All right, then. Well, I'll go back to bed.
Back to gallery view.
How many members do you have in your group?
It's not a formal group. This is an informal coffee hour sponsored by Lancaster area woodturners, and we typically draw 30 to 35 people on screen each Thursday morning from 10 to 11. We do a 1 hour show.
Right. Okay.
It's an awful lot of, okay, what do you got? I showed a video today. We had a little fun with some crazy tools. Kai showed his little slideshow that you came in at the end of. But really, this is very free form and not scripted or really much planned. I usually have arranged with 1 or 2 people for a 10 or 15-minute show. We generally hold topics to 20 minutes or half an hour if everybody's engaged. But otherwise, if you're just droning on, I'll stop you after 20 minutes. And we'll go on to somebody else.
Right.
We do a lot of show and tell, but this is really not about finished work. It's okay to show finished work, but this is about tools, techniques, turning adventures and misadventures, and a lot of fellowship, really, fellowship and lady fellowship. We have a half a dozen female members, which is unusual in a turning group. We started as a Lancaster club, out of the Lancaster, Pennsylvania club, but we've got people on screen here from around the world now. You're in Australia, Kai is in Germany. There's people on screen from Vermont, from Ohio, from upstate New York, Baltimore.
How many members does the Lancaster group have?
54.
And do you have a clubhouse?
No, yeah, we have a meeting place, but we have not met in person in a year. We only meet on Zoom. Our regular club meeting, for those of you who might need a reminder, is next Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock daylight time.
Yes, because a lot of the wood turning clubs in Australia have permanent premises.
We do too for the first time. We have the upstairs of a cabinet shop in New Holland, PA. One of our members' sons owns the business, and they built with 5-year expansion in mind. So they've got a huge space they don't intend to use for 5 years. So we settled into it. We're going to settle into it once we're past the COVID bullshit.
Oh, that sounds very good.
Yeah, it's a nice space. We'll be voting this week, for those of you who are members of the Lancaster Club, on whether to spend about $1,800 on video equipment.
John?
Yes, Doug.
The next Tuesday is actually the 30th, so it's going to be 2 weeks from Tuesday is our club meeting.
Quite good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
April the 6th.
April 6th. That's when we'll be voting on the video buy, and of course, I'm very much advocating it. Because I've set up a video situation in my basement that works really well, and I'm advocating the club adopt a simplified version for club meetings so that we can have hybrid meetings and have a live demonstration with live people in the room, as well as people coming in remotely. That allows us to continue to serve members who don't live anywhere near Lancaster, as well as Lancaster members who just don't want to drive to New Holland.
So can I just ask a question? You said how far? It's 2 o'clock in the morning now for you?
Yes.
So our 7 p.m. club meeting would be in the morning for you then, wouldn't it? If it's 7 p.m. would be 8 a.m. for you?
Yes, yeah.
So you could potentially join a club meeting if we had, or if we invited you in or something online. With a little bit more convenience than 2 o'clock in the morning.
We could get Ernie's a member of our club, so we could defer the book review and show the pictures at the club meeting one time if you'd like to do it that way. What would work better for you, Mike?
Well, obviously, I think that'd be easier.
Okay.
Save having to get the house held up. So no, I think that'd be a very good idea.
All right, we'll do whatever arranging we need to do and get that to happen. It might be the May meeting rather than April, because we have an agenda for April already.
You might suggest or send Mike our link to our website. You can take a look at the 50 or 49 so far, but 50, this one will be posted, coffee hours plus our monthly meetings.
Right, yes, I just had a brief look at your website yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
Mike was just speaking as our webmaster, so now you got the full complement. Doug and I run this show. Mike runs the website. Barry, who's on here, is the club secretary, And our immediate past president is on screen. That's Swanson. Yeah, like that.
John,
I like the idea of going back to bed. Even at noon. It's nap time here.
Well, you can all do that now because it's 11 o'clock, and that brings us to an end of our weekly coffee hour. Thank you all for participating. Please, next week, continue to bring goofy tools that you'd like to show. I've got the list I made this week of people who'd like to show stuff, and you can let me know at the beginning of the next coffee hour or during the week by email that you've got something to show. And I'll add you to the list, and as you know, we chew our way through the list. We might not get to you this week, but we will get to you next week. And thank you all.